sock hops, diners, Elvis, and Steven. Yay, you made it. I've been waiting for you. Hi, my name is Floss. This is the Grape Jelly Library where we love to talk about books. And today we are going to talk about a big book. A very, very big book. The book that I am talking about, that we will be talking about, is 11/22/63 by Stephen King. This is not for the Stephen King fans. This is for a entirely different audience. Well, I would qualify as that audience as I have not read very much Stephen King. This book was published in November of 2011, and it deals with time travel and the 50s, the late 50s, the early 60s, I should say, and going back in a moment of time to prevent certain historical events in order to prevent other historical events. It just gets a jumbled mess. Well, it can be if you don't follow along closely. This book is right around the 900-page mark, and it holds, true to fashion, or true to Stephen King fashion, a lot of information. Some of which is unnecessary. But I feel like in any of Stephen King's larger volumes, there is a lot of rambling, unnecessary things. We could, trim it up a little bit, pretty it up a little bit. But this is what he wanted, and this is what he intended for his readers, new audience, to experience. So, I'm kind of glad that I read it, and I'm kind of glad that I haven't read too much of his works yet, as I feel like I fall into any category that he's aiming his novels and books toward. I'm that target audience because I am very naive when it comes to Stephen King. So the premise of this book is that there is an older gentleman who is given the task or finds himself in a certain moment in time where he is able to time travel back into the late 50s, early 60s. And he has a job to do. He can go back in time. Each time you go back, you go back to the same exact moment in time. And you can teleport back into your present day life. But if you choose to time travel back, you're going to start at the beginning. So it's kind of like an unsaved video game. All right. Well, to me, that is like annoying. So I guess the moral of that story is just to stay put. Once you time travel, just stay put. Don't worry about coming back and forth. All right, so this older gentleman is no longer able to do this time traveling because he has a terminal illness. So he calls up, or he beckons one of his friends to the diner that this older gentleman owns, and he explains, in great detail what this younger gentleman by the name of Jake Eppings needs to do, and how he's going to do it, and what he's going to encounter, and things to say, and this is how you'll pay off certain persons with a rock and whatever. So he kind of gives him the lowdown so that he's not going in blindsided, as I suppose the older gentleman had to find all these things out on his own. At least Jake has the assistance of this older gentleman to fill him in on some of the ins and outs of this time travel. All right, so when Jake goes back into time, he arrives, I believe it's 1958. So yes, it's a wonderful time. It's an innocent time. It's a time of freshly mowed lawns, TV dinners, Elvis Presley, sock hops, and diners. Who doesn't love a good diner? And those beautiful cars of the day. So he's learning that a root beer might cost 10 cents, a haircut might cost 40 cents, things like that. So he really has to, I would say, desensitize himself from 2011 and become more acclimated with 1958. Although Jake's specific reason for time travel is not to prevent anything from 1958 up until 63, there are events that do occur within that time frame that Jake finds himself involved in. So when we go back to 1958, what are we going to do? We're going to try and establish some sort of normalcy, some sort of life, some sort of way of fitting in and accepting our surroundings and what is going on, and just trying to normalize a life so that we can get through day by day by day until we get to 11/22 of 63. Okay. Now, if you don't know what 11/22/63 is, that is the day that our 35th president, JFK, was assassinated. And that is the specific reason Jake is, purposely sent back in time to try and prevent those events. If he can prevent that event from happening, he might be able to prevent the Vietnam War. Oh my goodness, wouldn't that be a wonderful, wonderful thing? God bless our soldiers and our military. I love each and every one of you. All right, so will that happen? Well, you're going to have to read about 900 pages to find out, because I am not going to be the one to spill those beans. This is a wonderful story. I loved it. I loved the history of this story so much that I found myself down several rabbit holes. I've listened to lectures. There is a plethora of information out there. Now, I have to say, I am not a conspiracy theorist. I like the facts. Give it to me straight. No fluff, no fillers. Just tell me like it is. So, but if you are a conspiracy theorist, more power to you. We each as individuals have the right to do whatever we see fit and whatever works for us. So, no harm, no foul, no shame, no judgment, none of that. All right. So this book, I am going to rate it I'm going to give it a 4. There is only one aspect of this book that really unhinged me. And boy, did it ever. Okay, I don't think that Stephen King necessarily has a knack for romance. So every time this romance between Jake and this woman that he had met and established a relationship with, every time there was a lovey-dovey scene, I cringed. I couldn't get past them parts fast enough. I didn't feel they were authentic. I didn't feel that they were, relatable. I don't know. It's probably just me, but, like I said, I couldn't get past those parts fast enough. Stephen King, please stick to horror. That is just my opinion. You can have your opinion. You might have loved those love scenes. You might have, if you are that kind of hopeless romantic. I am not. I didn't have any time for that kind of bull. But anyways, it is what it is. And had that not been a factor in this book, I would have given it 5 stars, because I love history, and I have to say that this was very enjoyable. And I know this is historical nonfiction, but I wanted to go back myself in time and just see how much of this book was relatable to actual events. So, do I think that you should read this book? Yes, absolutely. It's a wonderful book. So many people love this book. It is not Stephen King's typical macabre, watch over your shoulder and, who's lurking in the dark kind of a book. But it is a very, very, I feel like educational. I feel like intellectual. I feel, aside from the romance in the book, I feel like it's very leading. It leads you, like I said, down a rabbit hole. You want to know what happened. What happened? Did this happen? Did this happen? I didn't know. I didn't know that Lee Oswald actually shot a police officer shortly after shooting JFK. I didn't know that. Now I do. And I'm not done. I haven't come out of that rabbit hole. Right now I'm doing this video, but I'm just peeking out of that hole right now. I'm just peeking out. But I'm going back down that rabbit hole once I complete this video. And you know what? I have to do this in a timely manner because guess what? It's December and I should not be reading these type of books. I should be reading my Christmas rom-coms like I typically do. But I'm going to tell you, I'm not lying. I only have one Christmas rom-com, and I don't even have it under my belt. I have just, begun it. You want to know another book that I'm reading? Oh, I'll tell you. I am reading The House of Gucci. Oh, I love my Gucci. I do. So even though I've seen the movie, I have to read 100 books for the Read What You Own challenge. So why not read that one? Plus, you know what? It is Christmas, and it is time for all that marshmallow, fluffy stuff. But the way that my brain goes, it takes a little detour, and we gotta even it out. It can't be all Christmassy, delightful fun. We have to throw a little havoc in there somewhere. So that's why I chose to read House of Gucci. Stay tuned to find out what I think of that one. Until we meet again, know that I love you. Don't let those bad days win. And when you dream, make sure you are dreaming big.